No. What I mean is, can you walk over here and do this, or do you need me to do it for the YouTube? We got to broadcast on YouTube too.
This is YouTube.
Oh, this is the YouTube.
We're
Oh, I'm
live on
sorry.
YouTube right now.
Oh, okay. So we're live on the YouTube. It's the Facebook that I have to do.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I was confused. I'm sorry.
No stress.
All right. So to the brother's question, Ecclesiasticus 5:5, and also in Ephesians when it says, "Be angry and sin not." Can just grab me them two scriptures. The brother's question, for those that didn't hear, his question was, if a woman got raped and she had a child, can she abort that child? The answer is no. You do not have to abort that child. It's rare that these occur. Usually that's what them blackity black cats try to say. That's why if you are what your father is, that's why they try to say the Tainos is gone and stuff like that. And but rape rarely occurs. You know, a pregnancy rarely occurs. For a woman to get pregnant, it can only happen one time when she's ovulating. So for that 2 or 3 day window, that's the only time that you can actually get pregnant. Outside of that, you can't. So, but if the woman was to get pregnant, if she don't want to keep the baby, I wouldn't blame her. But you can give the baby to us, to the school. You can give the baby up for adoption or something like that. But that's better. Go ahead. You got the scripture in the Apocrypha? That's 5 and 15, you said, Shemawala? 5 and 5. Read that, Kawak. We need that mic if you're going to use it. Oh, Salakia. And then somebody get Ephesians 4 and 26. Yeah, Ecclesiasticus 5 and 15.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 5 verse 5 concerning prohibition.
Proposition, is that what it says?
Concerning proposition, be not without fear to add sin unto sin.
So now, why does it say be without fear to add sin unto sin? Why is it saying that?
Salakia, sir. If I'm correct, is from the situation that
It's a sin what happened to her. But it's also a sin if she commits murder. There is no difference between, like the Lord ain't going to look at one and say that's not a sin and look at the other. It's all a sin. All right? Now give me Ephesians 4 and 26, someone. Hazab, you was going to say something?
Sir, you were saying to be with fear, right?
Yeah.
Be with fear to add sin to sin.
Right.
Now, when you sin in revenge of other sin, you still have to face the repercussions.
Absolutely. So you're going to pay for that abortion. You get that abortion before rape, you're going to pay for that abortion. That's why I said you can have, you can put it up for adoption or something like that. That would be better. All right? You got Ephesians 4 and 26?
Sir.
Read that.
Ephesians 4:26. Be ye angry and sin not.
Do what?
Be ye angry and sin not.
Very important to understand. You know what I mean? You could be angry about anything. The scriptures don't never say you don't have to be angry. Your anger, you can't sin. Like we was talking about, rape will make anybody want to take vengeance for that. For example, like Simeon and Levi. But unless you're seeing it happen, so you're preventing the rape, if it happens and then you go exact vengeance, you can't do that. That's not the time that we're in. You would have to put them before the law. All right?
Salakia, sir.
Go ahead.
Salakia, sir. My daughter also put a like a little twist on the question. She also said, does these rules apply if it's a heathen? A heathen, if a heathen man raped you. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely put it up. Don't bring the heathen here.
But
you still can't kill a baby. Like she want to kill a baby if it's the devil. Nah, you can't kill a baby.
All right,
You can't commit murder. Like we can't sin regardless. Like what does the scripture say about when Israel rules? What does the scripture say? When the scripture say when the righteous rule, what? Shalayah? The people will rejoice.
Con.
When the wicked rule, the people will mourn.
Mourn.
We're not doing this so that we can have a license to sin,
Con.
like the white man. Only
Con.
the white man would create something to kill a baby that they say is not alive. But if you murder a pregnant woman, you're charged with both murders.
Con.
That's the white man. We are not like that.
Con.
You understand? Go ahead.
I had a question, sir.
Okay, you good now, Kawhi?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
It's like, sir, I had a question pertaining to Jacob's ladder. It was in Genesis chapter 28 and verse 12, I believe, sir.
Okay.
My specific question was in the dream or in the vision, the what was he?
Tell me where we at. You gotta-
Genesis, the 28th chapter and the 12th verse. What was in the vision? What was Jacob actually seeing when it says and a ladder ascended into heaven?
Okay, no sweat. Let's get Genesis 28. Like I said, I got to go through 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter.
Come on.
I want to go over the two lineages with Yahushua, and we'll get this now too. Go Genesis 28 and 12.
Con on a one con. The book of Genesis, the 28th chapter and the 12th verse. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of the Most High ascending and descending on it.
Okay, so what's your question?
And it says the ladder set up on the earth. Okay, what was Jacob seeing? The way I explained it was just something that the angels were going up and down on, not because they had to, but because it was the point of the vision was to show that the Most High was making a covenant with Jacob, saying that Jacob was the chosen one. That's why it was so dramatic like that, no?
Okay, always remember, right, like when you read like Revelations or Jacob is having a vision, right? Even like with Peter had a vision too, right?
Yes, sir.
Peter's vision was he saw a sheep, he saw all manner of four-footed beasts, etc., like that, right? But he knew that that's not what it meant, but that it was telling him something.
Right.
Right? When John the Revelator saw all of these different things, he saw the beast with the dragon and everything like that, it was telling him something. So now you see a vision where you see angels, you see a ladder, and you see angels going up and down the ladder. So now that means they're climbing up to something and climbing down to something, right? So what is it saying? Just think about, does the Most High come here on the planet?
La, sir.
Okay, so what is that? What is Jacob seeing?
Jacob is seeing the angels come to and fro, coming from heaven to the earth.
To do what? The Lord's bidding.
You're right, whatever they do.
So like what Jacob is seeing is the operation of the Lord. So that operation is the angels come down here and do things. That's why even when Satan went before the Most High, what did Satan say to the Most High?
It's like, I don't remember verbatim, but he said, I was going to and fro on the earth.
Around the earth, up and
Yeah,
down.
up and down.
Same way the sons of God, which came up there with him. When the angels came down, like a perfect example, the angels came down that ladder. I'm saying the ladder because that's in the vision. And then they would go and visit Sarah and tell her she's going to have Isaac. The angels would come down, and then they would visit Zacharias and tell him John the Baptist is being born. Then they would visit Mary, tell her Mary is being born.
Mm-hmm.
That lion spirit, when the Lord had that council, you familiar with the council that the Lord had?
Yes, sir. About
Right.
Ahab.
So he had, yeah, right, exactly. That ladder is synonymous with that. So Jacob is seeing the operation that takes place.
Okay.
The angels go up to heaven. The angels come down from heaven to earth.
Okay.
That's what the vision is. Go ahead.
If I could, sir, would it be tawab at all to break it down from the standpoint of, or from the topic of the fact that this was like the Most High showing Jacob that, he was the Most High showing Jacob like in the movies when it's like dramatic, the dramatic scene where it's like you were the chosen one. It's sort of like that because isn't he's saying that he would make a he's saying that he did make a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Mm-hmm. So can I break it down from that standpoint too?
But that's not what this
That's
is
not the ladder. Okay, kind of.
You want to just show it. This is the Christ. Excuse me. Say it again. What you want to use it for?
Because after the Most High says, I made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and I will set you, or I'll make a great nation out of you when he's talking to Jacob. Right. So I'm wondering if I could use that just to say that this is like the Most High basically saying that Israel or Jacob is the chosen one.
Verse 13 through 15
says that.
But when you break it down to 12, you want to make sure that you understand or explain to whoever you're teaching that this is about the operation.
Just the operation, okay,
That's not just synonymous with what he's doing in verse 13 and 15. That's the whole operation of the Most High. The angels coming down from heaven and do his work, go back up. Explain that first, and then when you want to go into it, this is the Lord showing you
right.
the vision, the angels coming down to make this happen.
Okay.
That covenant happen.
Count on one count. That was it, sir. Count on one count, sir. That was it.
All right.
Count on one count.
Anybody else got any question in here?
In Matthew 24 and 24, sir, the part where it says where the elect will be deceived. I wanted to know if
where it said where it shall deceive the very elect is what you're saying?
Cuddle Khan, sir. If that can be used pertaining to brothers who left the so-called old school, you know what I'm saying, to say that they was overcome by the demons.
Anybody that's not in here, that's out there teaching, especially someone from the old school. So say somebody was in this school and then they left, and then not only are they speaking against the school, they changing the doctrine. That's usually what happens.
Right.
You understand? That's fooling the very elect. Like a
Cuddle
precept
God.
that would be earlier in that verse 15. He that endures to the end shall be saved. Not he that's in the truth for 10 years, 25 years, 30 years, 1 year. You have to be in this truth until our King comes back.
That's right.
If you're not in this truth till our King comes back, excuse my language.
That's right. Cuddle Khan.
That's right, sir. Matthew 24 and 24, where it says, if it were at all possible, I thought that was saying like it's not possible to deceive the elect, meaning the ones that are going to be. Yes, sir. I'll get it for you.
Slack, yes, sir. I wanted to know, is Jeremiah from the tribe of Judah or Benjamin?
You got the Zondervan Bible Dictionary?
La, sir.
Jeremiah would be from the tribe of Levi because his father was a priest and he was a priest. Would that be proof in Jeremiah the first?
I was reading it myself, and I was going to say more than likely what you said is correct. We got the Bible Dictionary up here somewhere.
I have it, sir. Come on.
Y'all should have that in the arsenal. Does everybody have their Zondervan Bible Dictionary? In the car. That's like coming outside with the gun with no bullets. You can't shoot shit. All you can do is what? What can you do? I run in the car. You're going to get your ass whooped. You got to have your full armor every time you go to do this work. You couldn't go to your boss and say, I left it in the car. He ain't having that.
So that includes a Zondervan, that includes a Apocrypha, and that also includes a Babylon and Timbuktu. These are your basic elements.
These are all like basic. It's almost like a UPK milk. Like that's like the bare minimum. And you want to make sure you have these things. You know what I'm saying? Especially.
This is Jeremiah in the Zondervan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary, page 410.
My Zondervan is in here too. I'll leave mine here. It's the one that don't have the cover on the slide out. Can you see if you can? Oh, that's what you got? Okay, go ahead, read that. Well, let me see that one for what you heard. Yeah, you read it, mine.
Khan on one Khan. Jeremiah was one of the greatest Hebrew prophets. He was born into a priestly family of Anathoth, a Benjamite town 2.5 miles northeast of Jerusalem. His father was Hilkiah, not to be confused with the high priest Hilkiah mentioned in 2 Kings 22 and 23.
Say what tribe he was from?
So, so what it says, if I could?
It says from a priestly family, it's safe to assume it's Levi.
And then can I use the precept where it says Levi shall not have inheritance among Israel, but they would, it's like another precept.
I think being a Benjamin would be normal
Right.
for Levi to be in
Count on one count. Right.
Any other questions in the room? Read Second Ezra, the 7th chapter. 7th chapter and
6th verse. So like it.
verse. Yeah, he started at verse 6, right?
Count on one count. I have it, sir.
Through I think 10.
Count on one count.
Let's go ahead and break that down.
The book of Second Esdras, the 7th chapter and the 6th verse. There is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water. Verse 8, and only one path between them both, even between the fire and the water. So
What is this talking about so far? Who knows? Like, explain. Don't give me the whole thing yet. Just explain to me what's happening right now.
Salaki, sir. Based on what I read so far, there's a scripture that I read in the Bible, which it's reminding me of. Is it talking about the path to the kingdom?
Just give me, right, but just give me what these two verses is like. So we read
It-
verse 6, it says, in the city building, set in a broad field full of good things. Right? Now, in between that, the entrance thereof is narrow and set in a dangerous place, as if there was fire on the right hand, and on the left, deep water. So now, what is it about this place? So we know it's a kingdom full of good things, but what about this kingdom?
What about it is that in order to get to it, you have to walk a straight path. Otherwise, you will destroy yourself.
Otherwise, it's so narrow that two people couldn't walk down this road. It's so narrow that only one individual at a time can walk on this road. And as he's walking on that narrow road, to the left of him is fire, to the right of him is water. Both of them will kill him if he falls. If he falls in the fire, he'll burn. If he falls in the water, he'll drown. All right? So y'all with it so far, right? Keep reading.
book of Second Esdras, the 7th chapter, and the 8th verse, middle of the 8th verse. So small that there could but one man go there at once. Verse 9. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance?
Read the last verse.
If this city
Oh, the last verse 10. I'm sorry.
Verse 10. And he said, it is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, even so also is Israel's portion.
So now what does this all mean? What does all this mean? Fine?
Israel has to go straight. Okay, in order for Israel to get the inheritance, we have to go through a straight and narrow path where only one of us can walk it at a time.
Why?
Because it's what we have to go through in order to get the inheritance. Otherwise, there would be no reason to get the inheritance. Why? Because in verse 6 and 7, it says it's a place filled with all good things.
True, but tell me why would the kingdom be set up like that in the first place?
Salaki, sir. Because without the pain and suffering and that danger, there is no other way to prove that we deserve to inherit.
Salakia, sir, because there's on each gate there are angels.
To see who's really deserving of receiving inheritance?
See, like, you put the Spirit of the Most High in these verses, and you'll understand, if he was to make it wide, everybody would get in. What does that say about the Most High? He don't want everybody. Yahushua, when he gave his parable of Matthew the 13th chapter, did he want everybody? Are y'all familiar with that? If you're Yahushua said, because that's the same thing as this parable. What did he say?
Salakia, sir. Christ told the men that he speaks in parables because he didn't want everybody to understand what he was saying, basically. And because
That's why I said, if you're not sure, okay, go to Matthew the 13th chapter and the 13th verse. So now, in Second Ezra, there's a great place, kingdom, full of wonderful things, narrow road, fire on the left, fire on the right. That's Israel's portion. Israel's portion is you have to go down that narrow road, which is why Yahushua said, wide is the gate to destruction, narrow is the way to the Most High. I'm paraphrasing. So now that lets you know the Lord don't want everybody, because when you make something wide that everybody can get in, who can get in? Shalayala.
People really that don't want to be in there.
Give me a little more on it. How's it hard? Faggots, excuse my language.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Murderers, whores, thieves, liars, pimps. The Christian church could get in there. The Christian church just might get in there if we make it too broad. You understand? Did y'all see that picture on Facebook with the pastor accidentally uploaded the picture of him kissing his gay man? That's who might get in there if it was wide. Right. So this kingdom has to be narrow with obstacles on the left or to the right. Now, those obstacles made for you to fall. You want to say something? Are those obstacles made for you to fall? They're not. Are they made to purify you? No. He didn't create that kingdom. The Lord did not create us to die. He did not. The Lord created us to live. But just in case you decide that you don't want to live, then that fire is on the left waiting for you. The water is on the right waiting for you. How do you live? And yeah, I hope y'all know the precept. How do you die?
Sin.
Give me the precept.
The wages of sin is death.
I was looking for one a little different. One that has life, death, law.
I set before thee this day life and death, good and evil. Moses?
Nope.
No.
Whole Matthew, the 13th chapter. Go to the book of Baruch, the
4-1. Salaki.
Oh, now you know.
Salaki, sir.
Now you know. Baruch 4:1. Go to Baruch 4:1 real fast, and then we'll do Matthew 13. Any questions online? Baruch chapter 4, verse 1.
Monitor the YouTube comments right now. Write down some questions, all right?
I'll pull it up on mine too. Oh, you let you using it. Okay. Who got Baruch 4:1? Go ahead, Kawak, read it. Give him the mic.
Baruch 4:1. This is the book of the commandments of God, and the Lord that endureth forever.
And the what?
And the Lord that endureth forever.
It says the law that endureth forever. Meaning, and that forever started from the time Adam got the breath of life up until now. Right? Keep going.
All they that keep it shall come to life.
That's why anybody won't wonder why we dying. Nobody want to face the real problem. Everybody want to know why we dying, and they want to tap dance the one thing that we all run from, and that's the Lord. That's these law, statutes, commandments. If we want to stop dying, stop sinning. That's why it says, all they that keep them shall come to life. Keep going.
But such as leave it shall
what?
die.
Leave what?
The commandments, sir.
That's right. You leave them commandments, you die. You leave the commandments, there is no going outside and feeling safe. You always worried about what happens to the next, how you gonna make it here, how you gonna make it there. I haven't worried about nothing since I came into the truth. Right. Nothing. Right. No matter if it came this close or had to do this or had to do that, I have gotten younger in the truth. Like when I say I'm gonna be 10 years old. What's 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I'll be 9 years old March the 30th.
Con.
March 30th, I'm going to be 9 years old.
Con.
Now, I usually say that because it's synonymous with how many years I've been in the truth, because I came into the truth a month before the Passover in 2010. Now, I knew I was an Israelite prior to, but I count my time in UPK. So I say I'm 9 years old. Now, when you serve the Most High, I feel younger. Like I don't feel old. And the reason why you don't feel old is because stress makes you old. Stress of bills, stress of baby mama, stress of unemployment, stress of can't find a job. I don't care about none of them things no more. All I care about is the next class I can make, the next camp I can make. Like when I walked in here, what did I say? I said, I feel like I ain't seen y'all in years, even though it's only been a week. Because I had to go out of town. I had to go out of town for my slavery, come back here, feel like I was gone forever. This could make me stress. Like that. If I can't teach, go to camp or do something like that, then I might be stressed. But everything else don't stress. Now, you take the average brother or sister that's out there sinning and committing all type of crimes and evils, what I'm talking about is your entertainers to the bum are all stressed because they don't want to keep this book of life. All right? Go to Matthew 13. You had a question, Kawat?
Salakia, sir, I just wanted to make a statement because, like, an old friend called me today, right? And basically it's on this topic. So he telling me that, yo, he hearing that Trump is taking over Facebook and you and the brothers need to watch out what's like being said. And I said, brother, listen to this. I said, the men that I walk with, we protected, and you the one that has to worry, cause you in the project doing wrong. You understand?
Yeah, I don't worry about FBI. Listen, man, y'all remember when a couple weeks ago, General Hyman mentioned who did he say was in my house? Homeland Security. Listen, I forgot about that shit. Like when General Hyman said about Homeland Security being in my house, I had to literally say, what the hell is he talking? Oh, they was in the house. Like, I forget about that. And they literally was in my house because somebody said I was supposed to be a terrorist. They asked me a whole bunch of questions. They went about their business. That was it. You understand? Like, we're not afraid of that. Like, I assume everything I say is being recorded, so they're going to hear a lot of the white man is the devil. I want him to die. I mean, typical, whatever you want to hear. All right? Who got Matthew's the 13th chapter? Go ahead.
I got a few questions here, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay, Cuddle Khan, sir. We have a question from in Obadiah 1 and 3 by David McFeeters.
Okay. What's the question? He got a question on Obadiah chapter 1, verse 3.
Cuddle Khan, he wants a breakdown of that, sir.
Okay, who got Obadiah 1 and 3? What's the other questions?
Oh, Officer Aya Zaab, he wants a breakdown of Corinthians 1:7, verses 3 to 6, sir.
Okay, so hold that. Let's do Obadiah. Don't let me forget about the two lineages of Yahweh Shai at some point. Very easy to break down. You might not run into it often, but some people look at Matthew's 1 and Luke the 3rd. They try to make Luke the 3rd chapter be Mary, Luke 1 be Joseph. I don't know how they do that when both of them got Joseph at the... One got Joseph at the start, one got Joseph at the end, but I'll show you how to... easily debunk that also. All right, so who got Obadiah 1 and 3? Go ahead.
The book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation
Read
is...
that on the top again.
The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee.
Okay, who could break that down? The pride of thy heart hath deceived thee. Let's bust it down line for line. How's it hard?
The white man, being that the whole chapter is about the white man, he think that his empire is never going to end, right? So he feels puffed up by the power that he has, the military might he has in the earth, the way how he's deceived the very elect, or the people that could be the elect. He has them becoming Christians and all sorts. So he thinks that... So read it again, sir, if I could, sir. A bond.
No, it says the pride of thy heart hath deceived thee.
Right. So in his mind, he's been deceived by his own mind to think that he's never gonna die or he's
Right.
his
So
emperor
what he
never gonna fail.
does is he kills everybody, robs everybody. I think a rhino just went extinct thanks to the white man. Yeah, there's a rhino. Not all the rhinos. The white rhino is extinct thanks to the white man.
Right.
I was talking to my ribs. He was talking about going to the zoo, right? And I said, the zoo's like a prison. I said, them lions don't want to be in that goddamn zoo. I said, a lion hunt, kill, get the blood in his beard and everything, and then the meat just laying right in front of him. He didn't even want to kill. And then she gave me a story about the lion walked out, walked back. That's the white man. Like, that's the pride of the white man, to cage up animals, to poison animals, poison food. That's the pride of his heart. And he think can't nobody say nothing or can't nobody do nothing. So keep reading.
Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock.
Why is that important, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock? Kawhi?
Sloppy, sir, because it's giving you a specific location, which is Marshall or South.
It's giving you a specific location. What else is it giving you? Water. Barnes?
It's telling you the dwelling habits, if you will, of the so-called white man.
Right. Now, we know that's the so-called white man because there is no white man in the Bible. There is no black man in the Bible. There is no Japanese or Arab. Like, you're not going to find them terms in the Bible. You find Arabian in the desert, but you're not going to find the terms for what we call each other today. But there are characteristics of everyone. And the white man, although it seemed like he hiding himself by calling himself Irish or Italian or whatever like that, he cannot not call himself a Caucasian. You understand? Like, he can't hide from being someone that like to dwell in the rocks. Y'all know how y'all think it's cool to be in the skyscrapers? You know why they got the skyscrapers? Because the white man want to feel like he in the damn mountain. Because he used to being in the cleft of the rock. So that's why they got the skyscrapers and want their habitations on high, because they're used to being on high. So he can't hide his identity. That's what makes the Bible is the blueprint for everything. You want to find out who this person is? Look right here. This is the 100% factual documentation of describing us, the white man, the end times, and everything. And the only reason I mentioned us and the white man because we're the ones that matter. Everybody else just follows whichever one is ruling. That's all. Kawhi?
Salakia, sir, and Salakia, sir, Esau basically showed that the scripture is true for the simple fact, like when you look on the YouTube, he's the only one on top of these tall buildings doing tricks and hanging from scaffolds and.
Yeah, unless you might find a couple crazy Negroes trying to be white and do some nonsense like that. But let's move on. Keep breaking it down. Let's read on further.
Whose habitation is high.
Which we broke that part down. Go ahead.
That saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?
That's the boldest shit on the planet. Like, everybody had a certain level of fear. If you think about the kingdom, Nebuchadnezzar, he had a certain level of fear. Certain level of recognizing, let me let Nehemiah resurrect the temple. You understand? That's why, like in Isaiah 47:6, when it says, I'm paraphrasing, I was wroth with my people, I put them in thy hands, but thou didst show them no mercy. You understand? The white man don't know how to show mercy. He don't know how to not conquer. He don't know how to not kill. He just knows how to devour. Everybody understand? That's the end of verse 3?
Yes, sir. Khan
All right,
one
no
Khan.
sweat. Give me the next question. Any other questions in the room? Yatazar?
Yes, sir. In Proverbs 9.
And that was 1 Corinthians what, Hazard? 1 and 7? Okay. Yatazar, what was your question in Proverbs?
Sir, Proverb 9 and 1. It says that wisdom has builded her house. She had hewn out her 7 pillars. What are those 7 pillars they talking
The 7
about?
pillars, you said there's 9 and what?
9 and 1, sir.
So imagine a house, right? What's the metaphor here? What is this talking about? Your bun.
It's saying that wisdom will build up the house being like you, for example.
Exactly.
Wisdom will build you up with like a
It's
good
a
foundation.
metaphor, right? So wisdom is what you're gaining. And when you have that wisdom, it's shown out her 7 pillars. So imagine 7 pillars mounting up the house, making it stable. It's about being stable because you have wisdom. That's all.
Throw out this.
I am the bar. 1 Corinthians 7:3. How's it, Hob? You got it?
Khan, sir. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3.
Start at verse 1.
Khan, sir. Verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant.
It's 7 and 1?
1 Corinthians, oh, Salakia, this is the 1611. They got Roman numerals. Salakia, sir.
Yeah, you gotta get used to them Roman numerals on in the King James 1611. I don't read nothing but the 1611 one. You give me a regular one, I couldn't find nothing.
Khan, sir.
My memory, like what I mean by that is like I'm programmed to know where certain precepts at because I use the 1611. But go ahead, read it.
Khan. 1 Corinthians 7, verse 1. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman.
Now, what is this saying? He's saying concerning the things that ye wrote of unto me. So what has been written to Paul that makes him say it's good not for a man not to touch a woman? I can't use too much.
Wasn't if I could, wasn't Paul?
It's cool while we can.
Wasn't he hearing about cases
The
where
adult, right, the cases with the
fornication,
adultery,
yeah,
right?
kind of.
He had the brother sleeping with his father's woman, so he's hearing about the adultery and fornication that's taking place. So that's the subject matter here. He's saying the reason why he's saying concerning the things written thereof, it'd be good for you to not even touch a woman, because that's what they was doing a lot of wrong stuff in regards to fornication, which is what we're going to talk about some things on. All right, read verse 2.
Khan, sir. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication.
Do what?
To avoid fornication.
To avoid whoredom. Fornication is any unlawful sex. All right? Keep going.
Khan. Let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband.
Meaning, if that's his wife, let that be his wife. If that's her husband, let that, well, you know, a man can have more than one wife. But it's all about not fornicating. You understand? So if the man sees that that sister is married, leave him alone to avoid fornication. Everybody with me?
Khan.
All right, keep going.
Khan, sir. Verse 3. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence.
What does that mean?
It means that the husband gotta tie fire to that behind, sir.
That's correct. It means the husband, the due benevolence is talking about sexual congress. You like that word, right? Due benevolence is talking about when you have sex with your wife.
Right.
That's the due benevolence. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence. Keep going.
Khan. And likewise also the wife unto the husband.
Right. It's talking about not denying each other
Right.
the sexual act. Go ahead.
Khan. Verse 4. The wife have not power over her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband have not power of his own body, but the wife.
So that, again, it's just talking about, remember, the subject is to avoid fornication. Let every man have his own wife. Let every wife have her own husband. Let them render under each other due benevolence, because neither one of them have power over their own body. So now that's how you keep a marriage fresh with the sexual intercourse.
Right.
Everybody understand? Read verse, he wanted all the way to verse 6, right?
Khan, sir.
Keep reading.
Verse 5. Defraud ye not one the other.
Meaning don't deny each other. Go ahead.
Right. Except it be with consent for a time.
Now, what is that talking about? Is that just talking about sex?
No, sir.
What is it talking about?
Anything, sir.
Anything. You can have issues in your marriage. You can have problems in your marriage. That's why it says, defraud you not one another, except it be with consent for a time. Meaning there might be a time where the rift between y'all is too much to be around each other. You need to be apart for some time.
Right.
And then during that time, keep going.
Karaw Khan. That ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again.
And come together again. So even though you're separated, the separation is not for you to be separated permanently. The separation is for you to be able to come back together again. That's why it says for fasting and praying, so that you can get your stuff together, be it the man or woman, whoever's at fault. Read on.
Karaw Khan. That Satan tempt you not for your incontinency.
What does incontinency mean? I'm about to look it up myself. Go ahead.
Meaning you're not continuing, or
Not continuing what?
not continuing. Incontinency meaning you're not continuing in conducting yourselves as husband and wife, meaning you haven't continued that sexual intercourse which nourishes the marriage.
Not just the sexual intercourse, but everything. Like Satan don't tempt you for your inconsistency. That's a better word to say it. All right? And then that's verse 5. Read verse 6.
Karaw Khan. But I spake this by permission, and not of commandment.
So what does that mean? Go ahead.
Meaning, okay, what he's saying is not a law in the Bible, but what he's saying, like what we say, is something that we say that's wise that brothers and sisters should keep still.
What he's saying is that's not a law that you have to do it, but it is counsel that you should heed to. That's why he's saying, I speak this by permission, not of commandment. He's saying, I don't have the power to make you do this. Just like all we have, like I don't know about y'all, what y'all may do, but I counsel, other men counsel. I know Kadazai counsel, Shemawala probably counsels. When you give that counsel, you're not giving them your law or commandment to do it. You're just giving them advice on what they should do, which is what Paul is saying. Now, here's what I do know about counsel. The scriptures say, seek counsel and repent not. So when you get that counsel or get that advice, you should heed to it. I have not denied any counsel I've ever been given, even when I didn't understand it. And you know what I mean? So that's how it's supposed to be, all right? So that was his up to verse 6. If he's Tawab, any other questions in here? Any other questions online, Hazahab?
The I Empress has she wants a breakdown of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5.
Okay, let's go 2 Corinthians 10 and 5. Go ahead. Are we on YouTube, guys? Yeah. This is like one of my first favorite scriptures. Start at verse 4.
Karaw Khan, sir.
Verse 3, Salakia.
Verse 3. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh.
So say that again.
Karaw Khan. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh.
Because what is our war?
The weapons of our warfare are not carnal but spiritual.
You must have read the 4th verse. But this warfare that we have is not a carnal war. It's not a physical battle.
Right.
No matter what your affliction is, it's a spiritual battle. If you sleep with whores, that's a demon telling you it's okay to sleep with whores. That's why brothers struggle with that. You struggle with the thought that gets in your brain. That's how you know it's not a physical battle. It all starts spiritually. Like in the book of Jude and Zechariah, if y'all have ever read it, anybody ever tell you about when who buried Moses' body, right? Joshua buried Moses' body. You can find it in Zechariah, the 2nd or 3rd chapter in the 1st verse. And then you can find it in Jude around verse 8. Zechariah gives you Joshua, Satan on the right, Michael on the other. And Paul gives you the spiritual, whether you got Satan on the right, you got an angel on the other. One saying to bury and destroy Moses' body because of the sin he did against the Most High. The other one is saying, remember all the righteous acts. Who makes the decision? Joshua makes the decision. So now if you got an affliction that comes into your brain, that's the same battle we go through every day. Now, if you can understand that, you can conquer the demons that's in you. If you can understand that the demon cannot tell you to do it, so you can't blame the demon. You listening to that demon. That demon sound like that demon knows you. That way, even when you get rid of that demon, you know why that demon that it could come back? Because it knows you. And so it knows, okay, he got rid of me that time, but now I'm going to come at him this way. I'm going to bring precept, I'm going to bring 7 more with me that'll make him worse than before. So you have to always understand that this is not a physical battle. This is a spiritual battle. Keep reading.
Verse 4, sir. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds.
To the what?
Pulling down of strongholds.
How did Egypt fall? Was that spiritual or was that physical? It was spiritual. Now, it was physical. The reason why I say it was spiritual, because how did it even start? How did the kingdom even start to fall? How did that start? Who knows? It's like, before that, what happened before that, Bun?
When they began to oppress Israel even more to break the order.
That's physical. But where's the spiritual part? That's correct. How's it how?
The part where where the Lord would hear Israel's cry of their
That's right.
of their sore
When
oppression.
that cry, it did, like, that's what amazes me. Like, we still cry to white Jesus, to Caesar Borgia, even though it ain't work. We still cry to Farrakhan. We got some other new nation of Islam that's going to be here next week, right? Some new nation. They established in 75. I want to ask them, well, who's the real nation, Farrakhan or him? So you got Islam. You got that blackity black Kemet garbage, which they all gay.
Right, that's right.
Listen, I didn't say that wrong, but they all gay. Listen, all of them have a spirit of femininity that is. You ever see them cats in Kemet? Now, in the physical part, they might not be gay. Spiritually, all of them gay.
That's right.
I've yet to encounter a Kemet cat that I didn't walk away from. Kadazar bear witness. I said, man, that cat got femininity just coming off his goddamn pores. Y'all see Jabari? Salaki.
That's right.
Salaki. So their cry went up to the Most High, and the Most High heard them, and by reason of their crying, here come Moses. And then once Moses comes, then the plagues come. Then the killing of the firstborn come. You understand? That stronghold got pulled down because we were obedient to the one power that can defeat the stronghold. Everybody understand? Keep reading.
Cuddle Khan, sir. Verse 5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Most High.
So how does that happen? So now if the weapons of our warfare is not carnal but spiritual, how does the casting down of and imaginations of every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, how does that come down?
The mighty works of the Isupk, sir.
You fucking right. Excuse my language. Excuse my language. Now, so who are we talking about here? Abun.
They are the brothers in the truth.
That's right. We're talking about us, like the individuals. Like everything that Paul, remember Paul is writing in this letter to the men in Corinth. So this is everything that we have to do. We have to remember that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but spiritual. So the casting down imaginations of every high thing that exalted itself of the knowledge of God. Give me examples of how that's done. How's it how?
Cuddle Khan, sir. Destroying the image of Caesar Borgia.
That's right.
Cuddle Khan, sir.
Destroying the image of Caesar Borgia, Kemet,
Right.
Islam,
Right.
5%ers,
right.
atheists, vegetarians. No, let me stop. Let me stop. That's just a joke. So like, y'all.
Can you also put other Israelite groups in that?
You can throw other Israelite groups in there as well. Anything that's against the laws of the Most High or that exalts itself above the Most High. That's why I'm saying against anything that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High.
That's right.
Because people in Scientology, they're coming up against the knowledge of the Most High. Kemet, Christianity, all of these things is talking about that. Now, those are all spiritual battles. Because they say their God is real, we say our God is real. So now we got to prove it. They say their knowledge will free the people, we say our knowledge will free the people. Now we got to prove it. Shalayah. Yeah, someone's saying they the quilt. You got to prove you the quilt. I'm never calling them that. Salakia. Keep reading the rest of that verse.
Khan, sir. And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ.
So now what does that mean? If you bring in the thought of obedience upon.
It's like, sir, it's on the topic of what you were saying earlier, how we're weapons of our the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, meaning we're fighting the demons in our mind as we fight them. You know what I mean? Strongholds get pulled down as we go out and speak. Strongholds get pulled down. And what we're doing actually is we're bringing our thoughts in the obedience of Christ, meaning when a demon comes in and tells you to, you know, like you said, go get a prostitute, you say no. And that's bringing your thought into the obedience of Christ.
It's almost like you become a prisoner of Christ, which is another thing Paul said. You become and why is it saying the obedience of Christ? Why is it using him? So, Yatazar.
Salakia, sir, because he's the one who came to show us the way that we're supposed to walk.
Right. He is the one that does not have failure on his track record. That everything that the Lord required of him, he did until death. That's why he's the one that we follow after. It's almost like when cats want to be ball players, they look at Mike. They look at Jordan. So whatever Jordan did, they did so they could be a great ball player, or Kobe, or LeBron, or something like that. So for us, it's Yahweh Shai. Right. It's the other prophets, too, that did great works, but Yahweh Shai is the one from the time he was 12 to the time he died and said, Father, why hast thou forsaken me? He obeyed the Most High. He did not neglect the Most High. He did not turn from the Most High. He only did his will. Everybody understand? All right? Go ahead.
What is that? Luke 19:27 is a precept, sir, where it says,
those that would not, that he should rule over them.
Right.
That's a little different because that's about him ruling. This is about us being like him, like following like him. Cool. That's him coming down here. He the boss. That's more so him taking what he didn't do, which is what kings do. Remember, and that said when that cat didn't want to give him, came back and gave him what he gave back. Say if I gave you 5 instead of making me money, you gave me back my 5 because you knew I was going to take whatever you made. That's rejecting the king. That's different. Cool. You want to say something? Right. Right. Meaning when Yahweh Shai, all this fruit that we trying to bring to the Lord, who's going to take it? And he ain't did nothing, but he going to take it nonetheless. Now, is that different from any king? No, every king does that. So it's not even like that's different, but that's his right to do. So it would be unlawful to not give him or build up what he gave you. And the saddest part about that parable is that he was given, like, in the reality, that penny that he gave that he didn't increase, that's our second chance. That's the New Testament that we're given. And we're supposed to grow that. That's why he said, let your light shine. You're supposed to do that, and you're supposed to bring it back. Don't be selfish. You brothers and sisters that's coming to this truth, man, don't be selfish with the truth. Right. You do not want to be selfish and then hold that to yourself and just sit in some house every day by yourself or whatever. Don't nobody know you're an Israelite. You hiding it. You like scared. I remember cats keep their shield tucked in, and then you be talking to them, and when they get comfortable, they I got my shield. You know what I mean? I just keep it in like that. Nah, man, rock your shield. Right. I remember I tell a quick story. I remember when I was working at the slave. I was young in the truth. I messed up I had this good decent slavery, and I messed it up because I was hardcore when I came into the truth. And I wore my shield, and this white lady said, "Oh, I see you got the Star of David." I said, "Well, it's the Magun Dawada." She said, "Yeah, the Magun Dawid." Like that. I said, "No, it's the Magun." She said, "Well, why do you wear it?" I said, "Well, you know, according to the Bible, the Jews are black." Like that, right? She said, "So what are you saying about me?" So then I realized she, a Khazar, Amalek. So I said, "Well, I ain't saying nothing about you." I'm just saying, according to the Bible, the Jews are black. That devil never spoke to me again. And that whole time I was there, she let the door close on me one time. And I looked at that like as a badge of honor. Like, I don't care about you, devil, like that. But that's how you're supposed to be. A little bit more tactful with it. Be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. But you want to let your light shine so that you can grow this truth. All right? Is that it for the questions online?
Sir, we got
Go ahead.
Matthews chapter 19, verse 16 to 17 by idle hands.
Matthews 19, 16, and 17.
Cuddle Khan, sir. Also, sir,
Uh-huh.
pertaining to due benevolence, where the question
Containing to what?
the due benevolence.
The due benevolence, okay.
Cuddle Khan, sir. If it could be rape, maybe.
Is it who?
Rape.
The due benevolence could be rape.
I guess-
If a man goes to a woman, to his wife, and she say, I don't want to have sex, can you take the box? Abon?
Hell no.
No. Do not be out there talk about 1 Corinthians 7. First of all, I don't use scriptures to dictate my authority over my woman. That's number one. So I ain't never don't go in there and say what 1 Corinthians say, you got to give me due benevolence and then take it. And when you go to jail, blame it on the Lord. Don't do that. Don't do that. If your woman don't want to give you no sex, say, that's fine. And then when she see you with your other rib, getting all the love that you need, then she be like, oh, the box is here. She be like, nah, I'm good right now. I'm getting wore out somewhere else. Like it. Get a
Like, so if I could, on that topic, like, okay, like, you wouldn't force.
That was Matthew's what? Hold on. 19 and what? That was Matthew's what? 19 and what?
19,
Okay, go ahead.
If I could, sir, okay, like you wouldn't force your wife, like, okay, you wouldn't, if you saw someone smoking a cigarette outside, you wouldn't punch him in the face and take the cigarette from him.
Right.
Like, you don't
Exactly.
force your wife, you don't physically force anyone to keep the
You
law.
ain't got, man, you ain't got to physically force nobody to have sex at all. You don't. And again, the rape is unlawful, so she doing something unlawful by denying you. You know what I mean? Probably mad because you got the other rib in the first place. You probably needed the other rib because she was such a goddamn monster. So who knows? All right, so Matthew 19 and 16.
God.
You good? Who got Matthew 19 and 16?
Matthews chapter 19, verse 16. No man putteth a piece of new cloth onto an old garment. That's 9, sir. Salakia.
You said, what, 19? Boy, them Roman numerals tearing your ass up. How's that?
Matthews chapter 19, verse 16.
Uh-huh.
But if he will not hear thee. That's not it?
Go ahead.
I got it earlier.
You
Matthew
sure?
chapter 19, verse 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, good, most high in Christ, good master.
Go ahead.
Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal?
Now, the brother that asked this question, they just wanted this broken down, or they had a specific question about it?
I guess it's a breakdown, so you just said
Okay.
Matthew 19.
Okay, no sweat. So now, one say, good master, what good thing shall I do to have eternal life? Go ahead.
Verse 17, and he said unto him, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is the Most High.
So I'm going to assume, based on his asking of this question, a lot of people like to say Christ and God are one. I'm assuming that's where he might be going with it. This is a perfect example to show that Yahushua never said he was God. He has said, I and my Father are one, which means what? Abon?
They're on the same page.
That's all. It just means they're on one accord, just like a husband and wife are one or become one flesh, meaning they're on one accord like that. All right? So that's all that means. I'll read the rest of it.
Karawakan, sir. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments.
But if thou will enter into life, keep the commandments, which is what we brought out earlier in Baruch, the 4th chapter in the 1st verse. If you want life, keep the commandments. You want to die, just break the commandments and keep being a wicked bastard that you are. All right? Any other questions? Avon?
I had a historical question.
I got my man right here.
Pertaining to the siege of Constantinople in was it 1452? I had looked at an image of the last Byzantine emperor, one of the last, the second to last Byzantine emperor. He ended his rule ended like 1448. You know what I mean? He looked like a Jake. Meaning, okay, the portrait had him as, you know, brown skin with the funny looking hats that they wore.
So what's your question about?
Okay, when they laid siege to Constantinople and then, you know, the devils changed it to Istanbul, they had taken a lot of the people in that area and they had moved them to Europe. And when they moved them to Europe, the Byzantines that were moved to Europe were responsible for a lot of the scientific advances that occurred during the Renaissance, like gravity and things like that. My question is, okay, were those Jakes, and then would that be a cover up for, you know, all of us coming from Africa? Because if he obviously looked like a Jake, there had to be other Jakes that were there that they then carried into slavery into maybe Europe or Africa or America. Is that the case?
You're saying they was in Europe,
Constantinople or Turkey,
right?
if I could.
In Turkey, and so your question is, could they be Jakes, and could Jakes have been around during that time?
If they were were they Jakes, and then is it a possibility that some of them were carried into Europe as slaves?
We were all, when you read James 1:1, when it says we're to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, we was already in Europe before, like we ruled Europe for a certain time. So you can find Jakes all over, whether it be Russia, Germany, Turkey, etc. So could they have been Jakes? It's possible that they could have been Jakes. Are you meaning like were they ruling or were they not ruling?
It was just a question of, could it be possible that they were carried into Europe and then they were the ones that were responsible actually for a lot of the scientific advances?
Yeah, we ruled Byzantium. The ruler that you're speaking of is actually a brother. He's one of Constantine's descendants. You know what I'm saying? That's why even if you look at who was ruling in 1453 when it was sacked at the Moldavia Monastery, you'll see it's a brother wearing a crown with an afro and all that. That was Constantine's descendant. But to answer your question, we were responsible for the majority of those advancements because Byzantium at the time was the most technologically advanced society. If it didn't fall, we probably have flying cars right now. You know what I'm saying? And then not only that, but we were responsible, just like think of America today. I got a book of patents in that joint back there that, you know, a black man really invented the telephone, really invented the light bulb, is really responsible. Jack Daniels is really responsible for majority of the technological advancements in America. I just found out the other day, video game cartridges were invented by a black man.
Yeah, the white man don't invent nothing; he just steal it.
So what you're saying is correct. Now, as far as a cover-up as to go into Africa, no, we were in Africa, we were in Europe. The only thing that they don't tell you is that we were the rulership in Europe, and the real cover-up is that if they displaced any of the royalty there, it was sending them to different lands so they wouldn't have any power in the lands that they're in to throw a revolt.
That's why when you get that book called The Negro Question, when you get that book called The Negro Question Volume 2, I think it is, when it breaks down King James, it'll tell you how when we ruled Europe and they were sending us here to America, they would stop us at the Caribbean islands, et cetera, like that. And I believe it was Ben Franklin that said he didn't want America to be black like Germany was. You understand? So, yeah, Ben Franklin said that. That's record. And may just go live again and stop. All right.
Okay, count on one comment. If I could, then what will be our role to those, like you said, that got scattered from the Byzantines into Europe? Because I imagine now they look
role
like.
As far as, well, we got a school in Europe right now.
Okay.
Kathaf, Parasha, they run the school in Europe right now. Go ahead.
I know, but they're from the West Indies. I'm saying those people that were scattered from the
They're in Europe, though.
Okay.
Like they're in. We have a school in England. Is it England?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got a school in England. So we grow.
Okay, count on count.
Yeah, like just like Brazil. It's like if we had a school in Brazil or anywhere. If there's Israelites in Africa, Germany, Japan, they come in the online class, boom, we'll grow it just like that.
What I'm saying is they wouldn't necessarily look like You know what I'm saying?
Not
Like-
about looks.
Okay, come on.
Like that's where a lot of people get caught up in. I hate what's that shit they call? What they call that shit? Colorism. Now that's not what you're saying. You're going more so looks. But I hate colorism and I hate looks because this ain't a look or colorism thing. This is your daddy an Israelite? You're an Israelite. Right. It's that thing. Okay.
My specific question is: let's say a brother came in like UK or something, and he was saying that his parents descended from people that were in the Byzantine Empire. How would we prove that he's an Israelite?
What would you do if a cat came in here and said he was from the Byzantine Empire, and so he's an Israelite, and you know he from Germany?
Right.
What would you do?
I would say like who his father is.
What else would you do? You got this out.
Test the spirit.
How would you do that? What would you do? Shalayala?
Just teach him.
Teach him what? If that cat walk in here, he's from the Byzantine Empire, say he's from Germany, and he come and sit down in this classroom right now, what would you teach? I didn't even mean to say it, Bun.
So like you said, if I could, okay, what I would do is I would start talking about white people in the most politically incorrect way. Like say how they're
Not any
disgusting,
white
they're
people.
devils.
Not any white people. I would talk about Germans.
Okay.
Now, it's going to come out of him if he's not a Jake.
Right.
I'll give an example.
Right.
A couple years ago, there was a cat said he was a Benjamite.
Right.
Said, I'm Jamaican. Now, I knew he wasn't Jamaican, Salaka. I knew he wasn't Jamaican from the rip. Didn't want to let him in. It wasn't my call. Now, he gets into class. He comes to the class on the worst day possible. It's Jenna Hyman's class. Jenna Hyman see this cat, and I just so, and me specifically, just so happened to ask a question about funerals and being clean, unclean, which gave Jenna Hyman the perfect segue to talk about how our laws keep us clean, Hamites' laws make you stink. You ain't got to wash, you ain't got to do that. 30 minutes later, me and General Hazayan was literally throwing him out the class because he jumped up and he could not say. So if he comes into the class and he says he's this, all you gotta do is just teach it. Just teach. Just teach where he say he's from. Talk about how disgusting it is. If he's not that cat, he will not stay there. It works every time. All right? Any other questions? Yeah. Where's the question was at? The brother, who had a different scripture question? Any other questions online? Okay, go ahead, you had a question, Yatazar? Go ahead, Yatazar.
The book of Malachi, the second chapter, is that about the tribe of Levi?
Oh, because it's talking about that money?
Specifically about the current condition?
What verse?
Starting at verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. If you will not hear, and if you will not lay it to heart, to be glorified in my name.
We'll let you know that that's talking about Levi.
He says, ye priests.
You priest.
My question is this, was this a prophecy about their current condition?
You want to read the whole thing? Or just give me...
I could read 2 more verses and you will.
Go ahead.
Said the Lord of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you,
Mm-hmm.
and I will curse your blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I have cursed them already because ye do not lay it to heart.
So what happened to the priests? Anybody know what started happening to the priests? What did the priests, Haban?
They started they started breaking the laws, meaning
Well, we know that part, but remember it says, I will curse you, right? I will send a curse upon you and will curse your blessings, right? Now we know the Levites didn't have no work. They didn't work, they didn't plow, they didn't do none of that. So what started happening, Haban?
starting to take what he's saying is he's starting to take away from their labor by making their sacrifices have the reverse effect.
But what happened to the priests? Yeah, I mean, if you're not familiar with it, the priests started working. Like there was nobody to tend to the temple because the priests were actually in the field working because nobody was bringing what they were supposed to do to the priests. So that's an example at that time. All right? Good, Yatazar. Uh-huh.
It's not a prophecy about the current condition of the Levites.
Everything can be, like, it could be for that time and it could be for now, because the Haitians are suffering now. But I would more so use Deuteronomy or Baruch, the fifth chapter. I would more so go there, because those are the actual curses that will explain in detail. But this can also be used if you wanted to use it for that. Mm-hmm. Kawhi, you got a question?
For the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice. He hath bid his guests.
So now what is all this saying before we read verse 8? What is all this saying? Abba?
Meaning you're saying you know that you follow the Most High, but you're also pledging allegiance to Malcolm, which is what Christians and anyone not in the truth does.
Right, it's almost like having two masters.
Yeah, this will come.
Mm-hmm. So now, because you have them two masters, what you have to do?
Not.
Let's read verse 7. No, read verse 6 again. So we know it's about serving two masters. Read verse 6.
And them that are turned back from the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and those that have not sought the Lord, nor inquired for him.
Because you cannot, in reality, you cannot serve two masters. Never believe that you can actually serve the Most High and the white man, or the Most High and Christianity. You can't. It's impossible. You're only going to love one. You understand? Like, we're children in that case, and we can't love both. We can only love one master, one father, period. That's why it says, and they that turn their back from the Lord, and those that have not sought the Lord, nor inquired of him, meaning because you stop inquiring of me. Read verse 7.
Hold thy peace at the presence of the Lord.
Now you can't even talk to me.
Right.
Now I'm turning my back on you. I don't want to hear what you have to say. Other words, shut your mouth.
Right.
Hold your peace. Keep going.
For the day of the Lord is at hand.
Mm-hmm.
For the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice. He hath bid his guests.
So who's the sacrifice? The what?
The house.
No. Who's the sacrifice, Abba?
The sacrifice will be the people that are swearing by the Most High and by Malcolm.
The sacrifice is those that are rejecting the Lord. Those are the guests and everybody. Meaning, now, shut your mouth. I'm bringing you out to the banquet. Read verse 8 now.
And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice
Mm-hmm.
that I will punish the princes
Mm-hmm.
and the king's children
Mm-hmm.
and all such as are clothed with strange apparel.
What is the strange apparel? Azahar.
So that would be the apparel of the heathens.
That's right. How do you know?
Being that they would being that they're going after the customs of the gods, is because they're worshiping the gods of other nations. Sir.
But you said the apparel is what?
The apparel of heathens. Sir.
Meaning?
Like suit and tie.
No, this is different. Shalayala.
The street apparel is the doctrine that they go by.
That's what the strange apparel is. The strange apparel is Malcolm. However you pronounce that. That's the strange apparel. Precept. What Adam and Eve did. When Adam and Eve left the truth, what did they do? Sowed the fig leaves, dressed themselves with the culture of the other nations. The strange apparel is the Lord is looking at him. This is an Israelite, but his spirit is Christian, or his spirit is Muslim, or his spirit is Malcolm. You understand? That's the strange. The strange apparel ain't your tie. It's not a sin. I wouldn't wear a rod on my neck. It's not a sin to wear a tie. It's not a sin to wear suit. That's not a sin. You can wear a suit. You go out with your rib. You want to show out a little bit. Go ahead, y'all put your suit on. You know what I mean? But that's not a sin. You know what I mean? It's not a sin to wear clothes. The apparel that it's talking about here is when you dressing like a heathen, meaning you put on their culture. All right? Good.
When I said suit and tie, I meant like the Christian will wear the suit and tie, and Muslim will wear the dress.
Okay, so but then you want to say that part. When you say suit and tie, I'm thinking you see this cat with a suit and tie, he got some strange apparel on. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to make sure, you want to make sure when you're teaching, you're very clear or succinct or solid. All right? Abon?
If I could, wouldn't this also be a sellout scripture? Because I know when like nations make deals with each other, they're often wearing a dominant.
I would use Jeremiah the 4th chapter for the sellout scripture when it talks about thy lover shall despise thee, though you deck yourself with ornaments. I'm trying to pull it for you real fast. It's Jeremiah 4 and I believe verse 30. Y'all familiar with that one? In Jeremiah 4 and 30, when it says, and what wilt thou do when thou art spoiled? Though thou clothest thyself with crimson and deckest thee with ornaments of gold, though thou rentest thy face with painting, in vain shalt thou make thyself fair. Thy lovers shall despise thee. They will seek thy life. I will use more so of that for the selves. But that's a precept to this here with the garments. Because you see it's saying they deck themselves with clothes. It's talking about what you put on, that culture that you dress yourself with. That's what it's talking about. All right?
I had a question in Daniel 11:41.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel chapter 11, verse 41.
I'm all quiet, funny as hell. Go ahead.
He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. But these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon.
This is Daniel 11 and what verse?
41. I was wondering if this would be a precept on how you can find devils in Central Asia, and how Moab and Ammon got to the Far East. Like I know it's talking about the Romans.
You said 11 and what verse?
11 and 41.
41, Salaki.
I believe this is talking about the Romans, but I wonder if I can use this as a precept to show like.
I'll check with Gentleman Hyman to make sure, because I'm reading the verse above that and it talks about the end of the king of the south shall push to him and the king of the north. I'll run that by Gentleman Hyman and then let him answer it. All right, no sweat. Next question. Azahab.
Question by Naquam Yahuda.
Mm-hmm.
Was John the Baptist a Judite? And if he was, would that make Elijah a Judite?
No, John the Baptist was a Levite. Zacharias was a Levite. Where was Zachariah at when the angel came and met him? Who knows? Bon?
He was at the temple, sir.
He was at the temple. John the Baptist was a Levite.
So he's saying, would that make Elijah a Levite?
Right, Elijah was a Levite. Mm-hmm. Elijah's one of them, like, you know, when you talk about Ruth or Uriah. You ever heard Uriah the Hittite? Mm-hmm. We say he's an Israelite. Brothers try to say, nah, he wasn't an Israelite, he was a heathen. Is there any scripture that calls Elijah an Israelite? There's not one scripture that calls Elijah. It calls Elijah the Tishbite. Mm-hmm. All right. Just I like that scripture myself. Any other questions?
Sir.
Go ahead.
C.N. Guillory asked, what is the proper way to fast?
The proper way to fast is privately. Give me Matthew, the 6th chapter. Very simple. The proper way to fast is whatever fast you choose. Like you can fast. Some people fast where it's food and drink. Some people fast where it's just food. Some people fast where it's just drink. You can also fast of, in today's time, Facebook. Everybody should take a fast from Facebook, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. From what I see and observe, y'all make me get off of Facebook. I never get off of Facebook for myself. I get off from what I see, because the scriptures say, what the scriptures say, be not righteous over much. Right. And I will be righteous over much if I stay on Facebook. So I have to remove myself from Facebook because y'all are lunatics on that goddamn Facebook. That's the worst thing they could do is put likes. If they took likes away from Facebook, Facebook would be a great place to be. If they just took away likes and hearts, get a heart on there, you're in a relationship with them. Soon as you put a heart on a Facebook, now you're in a relationship. Anyway, Facebook family. Anyway, you got Matthew the 6th chapter. I can do a whole lecture. My next lectures will be Facebook. Get the fuck off. Excuse my language. Matthew 6 and hold on. No, not 16. Because I want to do it verse 1. Matthew 6 and 1. Who got it? Who got the mic? How's it how I read it?
Who got it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Who got Matthew 6 and 1? You can read it. Kawak got to read it.
Matthew 6 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, ye have no reward of your Father.
Now, I brought this verse first to let you know the whole thing. Yahweh Shah, phone's on vibrate. I do this so that we know the whole thing Yahweh Shah is talking about in this chapter is to not do stuff to be seen of everyone. Alms is an example. Alms is like helping somebody. whether it's the poor, whether it's your brother, or et cetera, like that. You shouldn't help your brother and be like, yeah, you know, I had to loan such and such $20. He was stuck. You know what I mean? So I just gave him a couple of dollars. You shouldn't be like that. Oh, I helped 5 homeless people. You know what I mean? You should not be like, whatever it is that you do, just do it knowing that the Lord is watching. You don't need everybody else to watch. Now you can drop to verse 16.
Matthew, verse 16. Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance.
You know how you get them cats, they be fasting like, man, you just be walking by, you just be in the room, you walking by, you saying, like, what's wrong? Oh, I'm on this fast, brother. You know what I mean? I'm serving the Lord, fasting, not eating. You know? I'm hoping the Lord give me a little something, you know what I mean? I'm struggling a little bit, man. Just man, I can't wait to get a burger, man. That's a hypocrite. Because you're really not doing that for any type of spiritual upliftment, which is what a fast is supposed to be. A fast is about denying yourself so you can harden your members. You can have any affliction that's bothering. That's why I brought up like Facebook as an example, TV as an example. Like today's society presents so many different levels of demons that can bother you. You can fast from a lot of stuff. You understand? And then as you fasting from that, it's supposed to make you better spiritually so you can fight your flesh. That's what a fast is about. A fast is about fighting your flesh. All right? So you don't want to be like the hypocrites do of a sad countenance. Go ahead.
Countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast.
Keep going.
Verily, I say unto you, they have their reward.
So if you're looking to please men, that's your reward right there. If you're looking to please men. The minute you got to tell everybody about your fast is not about you. No, excuse me, the Most High no more. It's all about you. Agreed.
17. But thou, when thou fastest, anoint thy head and wash thy face.
Meaning, wash your ass, anoint your head, go fast, and do as much business as possible. Just do your business as usual. That's all. Ashar.
Should we shower before being anointed, or should we shower after being anointed?
I would probably shower before, Ashar, because usually when you're anointed, you leave in your house. Unless you're doing it in the house. But I would probably wash first. Because I would want the oil to stay on. If I'm going to anoint myself after the fast, I don't want to wash that off. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
When this says anoint your head, does that mean like just greasing your scalp?
No, they ain't greasing your scalp. It's like when we anoint your head here.
No.
Oh, okay. Nah.
Question by
Go ahead.
Darwin, sorry. He wants a breakdown of Revelation chapter 13, verse 2.
Okay, let's get Revelations 13, verse 2. The what?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Revelations chapter 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority.
So what is this here? Let me get my damn preset so I can give you the right names. What is this? Hey, Ashar?
It's talking about the white man, or the so-called white man, and
But I think he wants a breakdown, so I'm assuming he wants to know what each one of them represent, correct?
well, then I think the leopard was the Greece, the bear was Russia, or the Persian.
Bears Russia to, yeah, there you go. You want the Persians and the Medes.
His mouth was as a lion, which would be England.
No, you got to give me what they were.
Or what they were.
I'm just trying to pull it
I
out.
know the dragon was.
Obon, you know it?
The lion is the Assyrian Empire.
There we go. That's
The leopard was the Greeks. The bear were the Persians and the Medes.
Dragon, I think that's wrong.
Yeah, the dragon's wrong. The
The
dragon.
leopard is Alexander, the bear is the Persians and the Medes, and the lion is the Assyrian Empire. The dragon is the so-called white man. The dragon, second, the dragon is the so-called, I was going to say that. Thank you. The dragon is the so-called white man, which is the dragon today, and that's Rome. And the reason why he saw all of them together is why? Abon?
Because the so-called white man brings out many things in ancient empires, like in his architecture and his policies and things like that.
Everything about this empire encompasses all of them. That's why he saw that beast with the leopard, the bear, the lion, etc., and the dragon, etc., like that. How's it, huh?
Precept, sir. They are confederate against thee, sir.
The Confederate against thee, though, okay, I wouldn't use that for Revelations because the Confederate, you got Ham, Ishmael, all of them involved. This is
Daniel's the 7th chapter.
right. That's what this is. Daniel's the 7th chapter. When Daniel first had the vision, this is John showing the vision again. This is all Esau. This is all about Esau. Now, what I mean by Esau, of course, the Persians are not Esau and the Syrians are not Esau, but Esau resurrected that. That's why America is called.
Babylon the Great.
Yes, you're a smart guy. But you had your hand raised though.
Can you go over the leopard, the lion? And
Oh, okay. The leopard is Alexander, or the bear is the Persians and the Medes, and the lion is the Assyrian Empire.
Okay, go on.
All right. He only wanted Revelations 13 and 2.
Come on, sir.
Okay.
So
I love this book. It goes with me everywhere. I'll be in Florida. Shawoyawa is supposed to text me the camp address so I can announce it at the radio show. I won't be in New York camp, but I will be in Florida camp this Saturday, Lord allow. Salakia. Dr. Zah.
Yeah, so you said a bear is Persian?
The Persians and the Medes is the bear,
Persian
and the Medes.
and
The Medians. Medes. M-E-D-E-S. Mm-hmm. How's it, huh?
Come on, sir. The land of Persia today will be Turkey, sir. And a lot of those Turkish people are Edomites. Well, they were like the...
Today.
Right.
Okay, we're not talking about today. We're talking about back then. They weren't Edomites back then.
What do you mean? I mean, there are no revelations into the future, sir.
No. I ain't talking about Revelations. During the time of Daniel or during the time of their rulership, when the Persians and Medes were ruling, those were not Edomites. Just like the Egyptians are white people today, but they wasn't white people in inception. That's what I'm saying.
That's not what I meant, sir.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
know who they were.
Okay, no sweat.
I'm stuck, sir. If I could, sir.
You talk about in this here?
Right.
Yes, that's all Esau. All of these are Esau. That dragon, that bear, the lion, that's all Esau. Right.
Also, the Syrians.
Mhm.
Those are a lot of them are, the white man raped the children of those areas.
Well, the Assyrian, everything in Revelations, the 13th chapter, is Esau. If you want to sum it all up. Don't get caught up in, because you're seeing the dragon and bear. We're just showing you what they were. Like, remember when, whether you said what Daniel saw, the gold to the feet is the same thing as the bear, the lion. They're both the same. They're the same empires, the same rulership, etc. So in Daniel's the 2nd chapter, Daniel's the 7th chapter, that's the same Revelations. What Revelations is how Esau encompassed all of them into one. I hand the ball. All right. Anybody else got a question? What time is it? He do that every week. Ashar. Anybody got a question? The water for the time. Kawak?
Salaki, sure. There's 2 questions. The first one was John the Baptist, was he in the truth? And when you died, like, what's the proper procedure of death for Israel?
Okay, John the Baptist was not in the truth.
right.
How you know John the Baptist was not in the truth? Very simple. It's easy as hell. Yatazar.
He had his own camp.
Not only did he had his own camp, that's funny. Not only did he have his own camp, when he saw the dove descend on Yahushua, what was he supposed to do?
He was supposed to stop his.
There's no more baptism.
Yeah.
Remember, what was John saying before Christ came? I come to prepare the way. It's almost like, imagine you got the owner of a company. An owner of a company leaving for 6 months. So Kadazar is the owner. He tells me, I'm leaving for 6 months, you take charge. Now, when Kadazar's gone, I start bringing in policies and shit like that, like, you know, I'm carrying power. And then when Kadazar come, I'm like, all right, Kadazar, you here, but I'm here too now. So now we got, you know what I mean? You see, I got these cats follow. I know they're going to follow you too, but you know, you got some people following me. When by right, Kadazar was the owner before he left.
That's right.
He's the owner when he came back. So John knew that he was preparing the way for Christ. There's only one head. Everybody get that in your head. There's only one head in the land, in the nation of Israel. There ain't multiple heads. And then there's a trickle-down effect. So even though there's only one head, from Moses down, Moses would be in charge, he would have men under him. So Yahushua is the top dog. So John could have been right up under there, but John chose to keep his disciples. John chose to keep doing what he was doing instead of lining up with Christ, which is what he was supposed to do. The only thing is, Yahushua never told him stop, just like we don't tell nobody to stop. Don't ever feel like you see a cat doing whatever it is he's doing on Facebook and you got to tell him he's not in the truth. You don't have to do that. I don't do that. I don't get caught up in telling somebody you not in the truth. I have put on a Facebook post, I said, I've graduated from certain battles. I never had that battle. I never had the battle of telling somebody you're not in the truth because they put a scripture up. It's a waste of time. You understand? And Yahushua didn't do it. So we shouldn't do it. The disciples, when the disciples tried to do it, Yahushua said, stop. You understand? That's up for the Lord to take care of. I don't have to get caught up in that. So Yahushua never talked to John, but when they asked him about John, when did Yahushua check John? When did he check John? Avant.
When the disciples of John came to Yahushua and Yahushua told them.
When John sent the disciples to Christ is when Christ checked John. Now, if anybody was to ever come in front of me to question whatever it is that I'm doing, my pedigree or whatever, then I would respond. But outside of that, I don't have time. It's trivial. And you go to Acts, the 5th chapter, it's pointless. If it's of the Most High to come to nothing, if it's of the Most High to stand, if it's not of the Most High to come to nothing. So John was not in the truth. Otherwise, he would have followed after you. He would have been a disciple of Christ with Christ. Instead, he wanted to do his own thing. And that's what a lot of people have. What did John have? He had pride. His pride wouldn't let him go of his current mission, which is a mission he knew was temporary. He wanted to, so no, he wasn't in there. I'll take one more question before we wrap it up.
I just want to say it's remarkable how much, the scriptures correlate to imitation group today, sir.
No,
We got a question from Officer Tara. Also, could you explain the meaning of the meaning, or I guess even the purpose of getting anointed in the school, Dr. Shaw?
Getting anointed in the school? You get anointed in the school because that's a proper way to become a priest. When you become a priest, you get it. Is he talking about the initial anointing or anointing period?
I think he's talking about anointing.
Like when we have like Sabbath service and stuff like that, you get anointed because that's a way to get a blessing from the, not a blessing, but just like when you fast, like when we read the scriptures, Matthew the 6th chapter, it said anoint your head. That's a custom of Israel. The custom of the nation of Israel is to anoint your head, pray, and then move on. That's all. It's just our custom. All right. Any other questions?
God, sir. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Second, we got 3 questions left, sir. All right. Erica Williams wants to know, if you fast, how do you get anointed if you don't have a school in your city?
You can say a prayer. You can get the prayers from the closest city to your school. We can email you the anointing prayer. You can call us. We can do the prayer over the phone. Now, of course, we can't put the oil on your head. You could put the oil on your head. You can put us on the phone. We can say the prayer for you over the phone, or you can read the prayer yourself. There's always a way that you can do it. There's no excuse.
Right.
All right. You gonna say something?
The I Empress, sir.
Go ahead. No, I need the questions.
The I Empress asked, she was a breakdown of Proverbs chapter 15, verse 31 to 32.
What's Proverbs 15, 31? And what's the last question? You said it was 3.
Sir. Yaakov Hawashai says, did Jesus have remembrance of his past life?
No. Proverbs what?
15, verse 31.
Answer that question for me. Like I didn't know. I felt like Jenny Hanna one time. Proverbs 15 and what?
30,
At 31?
Proverbs chapter 15, verse 31, sir.
Okay, no sweat. Proverbs 15 and 31. Who got that? You, go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 15, verse 31. The ear that heareth the reproof of life abideth among the wise.
All right, what does that mean? Read 32.
Verse 32. He that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul, but he that heareth reproof getteth understanding.
Okay, so what is this talking about? Ashar?
To somewhat.
Start at verse 31. Go ahead.
Verse 31. The ear that heareth reproof of life abideth among the wise. So someone who's able to take correction, someone who's able to seek counsel.
According to what?
According to the law.
Why you say law? That's correct.
Why I say law?
Yeah.
Because we live our life by the law.
That's right. So when it says, the ear that heareth the reproof of life abideth among the wise, meaning we should all be willing to stand corrected according to the law. Right. That's what reproves us. When you're getting reproved, it's not a bond of reproving a shah. It's the law reproving. It's just coming out of a bond's mouth.
Right.
So now when you can hear that approved, then you abideth among the wise, because we all should be able to accept reproof. We should all be able to say, somebody should be able to come to a brother and say, you need to do X, Y, Z, and you should be able to hear what their brother's saying. Read 30. Oh, I think that's all she had was that verse. So that's why they abideth among the wise. The reason why I read 32 is because the flip side is he that refuses instruction despiseth his own soul, because what happens when you refuse that life?
You think you end up falling into sin.
You wasn't in class earlier. That's true, but you wasn't in class.
Oh, you died.
You died. That's it. But that was early in class. You just wasn't here for that. Abadja?
So I had a question.
What's your question?
My question was about Genesis 14 and 14 and the scripture in Joshua, the 17th chapter. My question is, why does the Torah have the word Dan in it, or the name of the place Dan, when Dan wasn't conquered and named until the time of Joshua, which would have been after Moses died?
Why does Genesis, the 2nd chapter, when it talks about the rivers that come out, why does it name the cities that were, like when you go to Genesis 2, and it talks about the rivers, and it talks about Hiddekel and east of Assyria and Euphrates and the whole land of Ethiopia. Ethiopia are Cushites. So why is it naming Cushite before Cushite was here?
Salaki, but then Cushite exists during the time of Moses.
In Genesis, the 2nd chapter?
Salaki, I mean, like, what's it called? Because Moses existed, like, during the time of Moses, when Moses literally wrote the Torah, Cush existed.
Dan existed too.
Salaki, but what's it called? Genesis the 14th isn't talking about Dan the tribe, it's talking about Dan.
Read Genesis, the 14th chapter.
Read Genesis 14 and 14.
Mm-hmm.
And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan, like the place, the actual land of Dan, which wasn't conquered until Joshua.
And what was that land called before that?
Salakia, I believe if you go to Joshua 17, it'll say Hashem.
Let me see, Joshua 14.
17.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Joshua what?
17 and Salakia.
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 No, I'm not talking to you about you. I just yawned. I was saying Salakia. You said 17?
Khan, it's right about 7. It's right about 7.
He must have asked you this question too. What you talking about during Thursday?
Because if I may,
Mhm.
you know, it sounds like what you were saying, like it's something that was later introduced and that they wrote what the land would be, kind of how like Moses' death is recorded. He couldn't have recorded his own death. You know what I'm saying? So that meaning that when Joshua went in, they must have wrote Dan because so that we would know what it is today, because that's what it's called.
Which is what Kadazai is explaining is what I was explaining about Genesis, the 2nd chapter. And the reason why they would put it in there is just as an identifying marker.
Khan.
That's all.
So, Salakia, Joshua's the one who probably put it that it was there. Like,
Possible.
because Salakia,
I wouldn't teach that.
Khan. The reason I brought up that one specifically is because I've heard that, like, when since I've been in the truth, people will say this doesn't add up because Moses shouldn't have known about this, or this doesn't add up because Moses shouldn't have known about this. But understanding that, like, even before this, I understood, like, in order of rank, like, more than likely, Joshua did all the writing, and Moses was just telling him this is what.
Or anybody could have done the writing. It did, like, scribes wasn't just confined to one man. You understand? Like, Joshua didn't write his writings, precept. Not to Joshua not doing his writings, but everybody has scribes. Who was Jeremiah's scribe? Fine.
So Zephaniah or Zechariah?
Ezra is one of them. Who's another one? Baruch was also a scribe to Jeremiah. That's what you're going to say, Shemaiah? Baruch was also a scribe to Jeremiah. So you didn't have to have just one writer. You can have a bunch of writers in there that will preserve and put the record, so they could have put that in there. All right? Yeah. That's a dumbass. Not you. That's a dumbass argument.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This is the last question. It wasn't any more questions. Was that it?
Earlier, so you missed a question where brother wanted to break down Gad, I suppose from Genesis.
Tell him it's, well, I wish I would have got there early. It's too late to do a whole Gad. You want to know who Gad is today?
I just wanted to break down Gad in Genesis.
I would tell him to come to Kadazai's history class on Monday. He could break down Gad and give the whole thing. Kadazai got about 12,000 books all in his bag. No, it's not good.
Sister Kiki.
Yeah, is it after 9 o'clock? Okay, one more question.
She wanted the question that Wap asked, what is the proper way to prepare an Israelite body for burial when they die?
Have the priest do it. Just contact the priest, we'll do it. I had the unfortunate opportunity to bury a sister before. I did not do it. General Haas did it. It's a certain way you wrap her. I don't know off the top of my head, but there's a certain way you wrap her with a linen. You have to have frankincense, you have to have myrrh, you have to have hyssop, and it's one more ointment that you have to have. There's certain ointments that you have to have when you bury the sister, or excuse me, to bury the individual as well. Ashar?
Why do we bury and not burn the body, like cremate them?
Okay, to burn a body is not unlawful either, but it's not honorable. And to me, it's not honorable, but it's not unlawful. If somebody want to be cremated, don't cremate me, just put me in the ground.
Right.
So Jeremiah said it's not traditional
Mhm.
and it's like disrespectful. Like
That's what I mean, it's
that's
not
what you
honorable.
do to somebody
Right.
going to Sheol.
Yeah, like you, like a rapist, you burn him. So like,
Right.
burn the rapist, the homosexual, whatever like that. But if one of us die in here, give them a proper burial. Your mama died, give your mama a proper burial. I would not do cremation. All right. I got to hold it. All right.
It's not so it's on the topic. May I ask it, sir?
Yeah.
When you bury him, are we being put in the coffin or are we just being wrapped up?
No, you put in the coffin. No, you put in the coffin. That's why I say you do it respectfully. You don't just drop your body in the dirt. You bury them, you put them in the coffin, you bury them just like you would bury any, and you give them an honorable death. You understand? Like the Israelites, they honored their dead, like Jacob and them came with them. You know, they would take the bones and bring the bones with them. You give them the honor and dignity that they deserve. All right? With that, I pass the class over to Priest and Officer Shalaya. You can just do the honor.
Isupk case committee announcements. With the Isupk case of the 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When new brother and sister come to the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission to marry. Passover. This year's Passover will be held March 30th, 2018 at the Grand Ballroom. That's at 2 Hudson Street. 10701. $200 per family, per person. If anyone has children providing the $200 fund, report to the captain of the city as soon as possible. Remember, it is both an honor and an obligation for all Israelites to attend the Lord's Passover. If the $200 fund cannot be made for your family, it will be provided by Commander General Yahadi. Right. Hotel arrangements have been provided. If any brother or sister would like to reserve a room, contact the captain of your city immediately. If any brothers need transportation, report to the captain of your city immediately, and a charter bus will be provided. Round trip.
Try to take over the
Tithe is a commandment. You can find it in the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, and in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. My Ishara, which means 10th in the Hebrew, 10% of every penny of any increase that the Lord gives you, give to General Mayak or your teacher. Priest fund, free-will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations, we got the Passover coming up. That's March 30th, once again, at the Grand Roosevelt Ballroom, Yonkers, New York, 2 Hudson Street, zip code 10701. I'll remind, there'll be a bulletin. We got the bulletin board up, and if you want to check for any upcoming events or future holy convocations, you can check the bulletin board in your school or check the website, isupk.com. If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. With that, I say I imagine, which means to stand.
Try to take over.
We're going to give one place to salute. Mr. Israel, Michael Shabbat, Imagine, Barak, class dismissed.
Any other questions in the room? Let's do it. All right, you'll give me the questions online, right? Commander General Yohana will be back tonight. Give him a hand. He'll be back in the building. He'll do the grill from Philadelphia tonight. All right. You have it yet? Go ahead. It says 1,154 deaths. Now, 1,800 deaths from mass shooters. In 30 years, 1,800. The cops killed how many? 1,134 deaths. The cops killed 1,300 in a year. 1 year. 1 year. You understand? So mass shootings, here's the truth of the matter. Mass shootings mean nothing to blacks and Hispanics. It's just not our problem. We make it our problem because we fear